Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Hey folks, today is Tuesday, September 17, 2024. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. I am live in Detroit. Breaking news out of New York. Sean P. Diddy Combs is sitting in a federal prison cell, in a jail cell, after a judge denied him bond after he was hit with a 3-count racketeering and sex trafficking charge by federal authorities. We'll walk you through that, hear from his attorney as well. Also on today's show, Black Lives Matter. They plan to spend some $15 million in battleground states to drive folks to the polls. We'll talk with Cliff Albright, co-founder of Black Lives Matter. Also, we'll tell you why a Texas judge told crooked Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton that his lawsuit to stop voter registration is a joke. Vice President Kamala Harris sits down with 3 journalists from the National Association of Black Journalists. We'll show you some of that. Also, New Orleans, in their own way, paid tribute to the late Frankie Beverly by having a massive second line in his honor. They even had a poster of Frankie Beverly in a casket, only in New Orleans. Folks, it is time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered. On the Black Star Network, let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Months after federal authorities from the Department of Homeland Security raided his homes in Los Angeles and Miami, Sean P. Diddy Combs has been indicted by a federal grand jury. He was arrested late last night in New York City. Well, today that indictment was unsealed, and U.S. Attorney Damian Williams laid out the charges against the rap music mogul. Here's what he said today in a news conference.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution. The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As part of this investigation, in March of this year, special agents from HSI executed search warrants at Combs' residences in Miami and Los Angeles. They also executed a warrant for Combs' electronic devices. During those searches, agents seized evidence of the crimes charged in this indictment. They seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 defaced AR-15s and a large-capacity drum magazine. They also seized evidence of the freak-offs, electronic devices that contain images and videos of the freak-offs with multiple victims. And they seized cases and cases of the kinds of personal lubricant and baby oil that Combs' staff allegedly used to stock hotel rooms for the freak-offs, more than 1,000 bottles altogether. Now, I want to be clear about 2 things. First, This office is determined to investigate and prosecute anyone who engages in sex trafficking, no matter how powerful or wealthy or famous you may be. No one should doubt our commitment on that. A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City. Today, he's been indicted and will face justice in the Southern District of New York. Second, we are not done. This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly. Anyone with information can call 1-877-4HSI-TIP. I want to express my deep appreciation for the victims and witnesses who have used their voices and helped bring this criminal conduct to light. We would not be here without them.
Folks, you go through the indictment, it just lays out sexcapades. It talks about flying sex workers, male and female, all across the country. It talks about coercion. They also lay out, when they call this a criminal enterprise, how workers for various Combs enterprises, various companies that Sean P. Diddy Combs actually own and control, the role that they played in all of this. I want to get right to it with our legal panel. Candace Kelly, legal analyst from South Orange, New Jersey. Joe Richardson, civil rights attorney out of Los Angeles. Aisha Braveboy, state's attorney, Prince George's County, Maryland. Now, folks, keep in mind, Combs has pled not guilty. They went before the court, and his attorneys had laid out, they had prepared this document that laid out how they could make bond, putting up his $48 million home in Miami. Also, they talked about he surrendered his passport to the lawyer in April. His children, his sons also surrendered their passports, but the judge said no, he was simply too dangerous, and there was a history of violence as well as witness intimidation. Here is his attorney, Mark Agnifilo, after court today.
Tomorrow, 3:30, in front of Judge Carter, the district judge assigned to this case. I think that we made the points that we've been wanting to make. I think he came out. Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end. He's innocent. He came to New York to establish his innocence. He's not afraid. He's not afraid of the charges. There's nothing that the government said in their presentation today that changes anyone's mind about anything. He's been looking forward to this day. He's been looking forward to clearing his name, and he's going to clear his name. And we're going to stand by his side as he does. We believe in him wholeheartedly. He didn't do these things. This was a 10-year relationship. There's no coercion. There's no crime. There's basically just, someone who brought a civil case and now is finding themselves as a witness in a criminal case. And we're going to fight this case with everything we have, as is he. And eventually he's going to be shown to be innocent. And so tomorrow we fight again. And we'll fight every day until we don't have to fight anymore.
Where is he being detained?
I don't know. The question is, why did it happen last night instead of today? I don't know the answer to that question. I just want to make one point very clear. We have no power. All we can do is show good faith. He got on a plane and he came here. And if he stayed here for one day before the case started or for 1 year before the case started, he was going to stay as long as he needed to stay. It ends up being only 12 days. That's fine. That's what the government wanted to do. The government didn't want him to turn himself in. He came here to turn himself in. Why doesn't the government want him to turn himself in? Because then they can't ask for detention. So they go and they arrest him. They arrest a guy who came to New York to turn himself in. But we're going to make all these points again tomorrow, and we'll make him as much as we can until we get him out.
Well, again, right now he is sitting in federal jail, held without bond, and not sure how long it's going to happen. I want to go to Aisha Braveboy first. As you looked at this indictment, I was talking to some other attorneys earlier, defense attorneys. They said the problem they had was lack of specificity in this indictment. Give me your assessment of this 14-page indictment.
Well, the indictment doesn't have to be specific. The indictment has to lay a factual basis for the underlying offense, which is the racketeering, the human trafficking, and also the transportation of individuals for prostitution. So it just has to lay out the factual basis. It doesn't have to go into detail every specific part of the crime and every actor in the crime. So this is a typical indictment. Certainly defense attorneys always want more, but this is what was needed in order to convince the grand jury to indict Mr. Combs.
Candace, your perspective.
Well, listen, they didn't have to be specific, as she says, but the other thing is that they were specific enough with some of the information that we found in the indictment. My takeaway really was, it's just very interesting, too, that when we look at this, this is something that Damian Williams said, we are going to continue this. The work is not done, he said. He gave in 1-888-877 number for anybody to call to continue their investigation that's been going on for at least 6 months. So while there was no specificity, or maybe not as much as people would like, there was enough, and it's not done. They're going to be talking to people. The case itself, you will see that the only person that is named in terms of who they are prosecuting is Sean Combs, even though this was a racketeering at the top tier level type of offense with other offenses. But I'm saying that because even though this was racketeering, we know there were other people involved, but behind closed doors, they've already made their deals, and maybe some charges might come, but most of them are talking because they feel safe, and they want more people to come forward because they feel safe too. But this is something too, I think one of the questions, and it struck me in this indictment that was answered, is that this is an international case. This is why we're dealing with the Department of Homeland Security and not just the FBI. This was a question that kind of the answer was evaded for a long time in terms of what's going on here. Why the Homeland Security? Because apparently, according to the indictment, there were people who were being flown in internationally. And my final point is this: they have the videos to prove this. I know there's 1,000 bottles of lubricant, and all of that is a lot to make a lot of memes off of, but they have videos. They seized his phones. They seized his computers. They have a huge digital footprint, and that's all that they need in order to make this case stick. When you think about R. Kelly and the racketeering charges and any other kind of comparative charges, this is worse.
Joe, do you get the sense that what they're doing here, again, by calling it a criminal enterprise, is saying, okay, any of y'all who work for this guy, we're going to give you an opportunity to call us and, frankly, cut deals. And by doing so, that's going to lead to more information, more evidence, more encounters. Is that your assessment of how you look at this indictment? And again, lack of specificity, but by saying they're continuing, this is a way for them to draw people out who otherwise will remain silent.
When you bring a case, you have to allege at a certain threshold in order to go down the road. And they have a luxury here, and that luxury is that, Sean P. Diddy Combs is not a man that people are not okay testifying against now. That shield has been broken somewhat. And so to the extent that they feel like they're missing anything, they can put the word out. Conspiracy, C-O-N, means with or together. It's powerful, just like with the R. Kelly case, as was said before. There's a conspiracy alleged, but you don't have any co-conspirators that are being prosecuted. As of now, they can always threaten that, and a lot of those conversations have already gone on. So their belief is that there's good money that they can bet that says that the things that they need to address the specificity issues and to get over that, beyond a reasonable doubt threshold is out there, and that information is forthcoming because, among other things, people feel more safe. I can't believe he let Cassie file this lawsuit. It opened up the floodgates. There were some things that were already going on, but for him to pay that lawsuit on day one meant that more people were going to come out. And when the feds are hitting up your house, houses together at the same time, they typically know what they're looking for. They typically know exactly where it is that they're going. And so they are very clear-eyed, and they feel very confident that whatever they need, they can leverage the threat of someone being part of the conspiracy officially to get that information.
Aisha, again, the U.S. Attorney made clear here that they're seeking this is not it. They're seeking more individuals, seeking more information. He is now behind bars. He's now limited. The judge said that because of the violence alleged in the indictment and what she called a history of coercing witnesses, that's the reason why she would not grant him bond. Your assessment on that?
I mean, I think that was appropriate. I mean, looking at what was alleged in the indictment, we're talking about a true criminal enterprise where individuals were hurt, beaten, threatened with weapons to be quiet, to stay quiet. And think about it now. Right now, Mr. Combs is facing 15 to life. And so, you know, Mr. Combs, his co-conspirators, anyone out there who has benefited, whether the government knows about them now or will know about them in the future, they all have something to lose. And so I think that what the judge wants to do is protect the victims, protect the evidence, ensure that Mr. Combs, who is a person of means, remains in this country, whether he doesn't have his passport or not. There are methods for those who have means to leave this country, and the judge understands that. So I think taking everything together, the judge made a smart decision based on what the U.S. attorney is alleging in this case. And, you know, as was mentioned by one of your other guests, this isn't anything that's pie in the sky. There's video. Now, they have been very specific in saying that they have video evidence of the crimes. And so I think that understanding that, knowing that, it is far more likely that the U.S. attorney has what it needs to move forward with this case today. Today, the U.S. attorney can move forward with this case. The fact is, he will continue to gather information from those who he has already identified, who I'm sure are cooperating now, and those who will cooperate, because now the message is clear. The message is out there. Your wealth, your power, your influence won't shield you from the law. And so those who thought that they were shielded understand now that they are no longer shielded. So others will come forward. I think this indictment and the timing of this indictment wasn't just to send a message to Mr. Combs. He had already received that message. It was really for other people out there with critical information that the government wants. But I do believe that they have enough now to move forward and make their case.
Candace, the point that Joe made, I'd love to get your perspective on. So many people were shocked that when the Cassie lawsuit dropped, then it was settled less than 24 hours later. And it seems that that lawsuit is really started this whole thing. And I've heard numerous attorneys say they don't know what attorney in their right mind would have allowed that lawsuit to ever be filed. Your thoughts on that?
Well, you are correct, because let's look at the facts. There were a handful of lawsuits that came long before Cassie, and no needle was moved on a prosecutorial level. There was nothing that the feds or anybody international was looking at. But when Cassie dropped, that is exactly when the tides changed. When he made that quick settlement, that's when he really opened the floodgates for all of these details to come about. And that, as you said, is a problem that I do not know why any attorney thought that settling this lawsuit would think would go away. Looking at this particular case, you see that it's not just a question about him sex trafficking. Listen, Sean Combs is the type of person that could have been in consensual relationships with a group of people and had group sex. That's legal. What he did, and what this says, was more sinister than that. So we're not looking at just fulfilling his sexual desires. This is someone, when you read the indictment, that drugged his victims and then used intravenous fluids in order to bring those victims back to life. That is something that goes way beyond what we've ever really heard of in cases like this. He took it really to the next level and kind of sharing the type of person that he is, if this is true, that this is not just a question of him having sex, as his attorney said, oh, this was a consensual 10-year relationship. No, we're talking about intravenous drugs and ketamine and things that revive people after they have been filmed against their will, saying that they were raped. So it's much bigger than just, thinking of somebody with a big sexual appetite. This is about power. This is about dominance. This is about holding people's careers over their heads in order to get what they want, with the use of arson, with the use of guns, with the use of taking away money and means for families to survive. This is such a big, big picture that, and it's only 14 pages of an indictment, but it certainly is filled with so much information that I would really encourage everybody to read it.
Jacqueline Alberto with the No Trafficking Zone. I'm going to bring you in here. Share with us your perspective on them framing this as an international case involving, this wasn't the FBI, this was the Department of Homeland Security. What do you make of that?
I think that this case is very similar to Epstein's case, where Epstein used the modeling industry and Diddy used the music and the entertainment industry to fly in different victims during these parties. I also want to say that there is so many other people that are a part of this. You cannot have this many people coming out and victims and facilitating all of this and not having people cover for you. And that is really the trick when it comes to people that are in positions of power and influence, how easy it is to traffic and produce these sex crimes. And you saw that with the Cassie video when she was beaten at that hotel. There was a police report. Why didn't anything happen? Why didn't anything happen further? Why weren't there charges? Why was it covered up? I also want to discuss, to say that because someone's in a relationship, they can't be sex trafficked is the most absurd thing I've ever heard of. Parents sex traffic their children. Spouses traffic their partners all the time. And this was a criminal enterprise. I think that is going to show that when you have a digital footprint, like they're saying, that's not just video. That's also text messages and emails where people communicated back and forth to help facilitate this crime. And you're going to see that substantiated with that evidence.
So do me a favor. Aisha, actually, I want Jacqueline first. Explain for the audience what sex trafficking actually is. So when you say that you can be in a relationship, you can be married to somebody, and still sex traffic them, explain what that means. Jacqueline first, then Aisha.
Sure. So the technical terminology is force, fraud, coercion. But really, sex trafficking is about being groomed. You are groomed by a predator, and you are manipulated. And over that period of time, you're also trauma bonded to that predator, where they start buying and selling you, and profiting and participating off of selling you for commercial sexual exploitation. In Diddy's case, he did it with females and males.
Aisha?
So when we look at claims of sex trafficking, we are looking for force. It could be fraud, some type of coercion to compel someone to participate in a sex act for commercial purposes or for something of value. And that clearly is outlined and alleged in this indictment. I did want to mention one other thing, because in looking at the video that you just showed of Cassie being brutally beaten by Mr. Combs, when we first saw that, we were like, oh my goodness, he needs to be arrested, prosecuted. And then we were all disheartened when we found out that, of course, the statute of limitations had run. Now, this incident is actually outlined in and referenced in the indictment. I think one of the things that the RICO statute gives federal authorities the power to do is to bring in those acts that are crimes committed in the state for which a statute of limitations has told, but if they are in furtherance of a criminal conspiracy, they can be used as predicate crimes to prove the criminal conspiracy. So hopefully, as this prosecution moves forward, even though he was not prosecuted in California for that crime, that crime will be a part of any prosecution moving forward, and he can still be held accountable for what happened to Cassie on that day.
It was also interesting here, Joe, again, when you look at this indictment, when they talk about free calls, listen, there are sex parties. There are people that advertise sex parties, and these are people who make consensual decisions. When you look in this indictment, though, they talk about kidnapping. They talk about arson. And so it was interesting looking at the different examples they gave in this indictment. Arson really jumped out at me. And you're like, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, you got guns, you got drugs, you got threats, you've got all of these things that work together to keep these people, to coerce them, to force them. You've got the threat of losing their livelihood. They are dependent. Maybe they're on the label. They work for Puffycomb somehow or some way. And you've got all of these things basically being used to force them to be into situations that they wouldn't be otherwise. These aren't voluntary situations. Cassie didn't want to be with Sean P. Diddy Combs so that she could have sex with sex workers, while he masturbated. That's not why she got involved with him. But she was coerced, she was forced, she was leveraged into staying in this situation because she recently felt like she couldn't leave it. You see what you saw at the elevator there, that's just a microcosm of what was really going on. The idea that she couldn't leave, the idea that she was choked into not leaving, not only literally, but figuratively. This is all of these things will work together to keep people on one side of the line, keep them in line, pay to get the people that could otherwise say something, that witness. He's got security. He's got other people that are part of this in their ways. And of course, they're going to be shaken into doing the things that they need to do related to it, related to potential testimony. But yeah, it was really powerful, all of the things that he did in order to keep these people that did not want to be in place. This is not a voluntary freak off, I'm creative, I like to do crazy stuff thing. This is a situation where people are scared for their lives, had their lives threatened, had their lives jeopardized. They were physically hurt. They were hurt in other ways. And so, therefore, there's your conspiracy. And that's why he's got the problems he does.
Jacqueline and Candace. I'm going to Jacqueline first and then Candace. By keeping him in jail, this severely, obviously, limits his movements. Do you expect a number of people to have the freedom to now come forward thinking that because he's behind bars, frankly, he can't reach them, and it gives them, a lot more comfort to be able to come forward to authorities? Jacqueline and Candace.
Yes, I think that this sends a very powerful message, because what happens with victims a lot of times when they come forward, especially when the predators are so powerful, is nothing happens and they're retaliated against more. Whether they lose their life, their livelihood, their status in the community, they lose everything just from speaking up. That's one of the reasons why we say to people, don't always say when you see something, say something, because there are really penalties to that. This sends an amazing message to victims that are scared, who've always wanted to come forward, that now when they say something, they're going to get justice without retaliation and retribution. That is so important. I also wanted to say that shame is something that's a big part of coercion and grooming with sex trafficking. A lot of times these people are blackmailing victims in sexual acts that they do, whether they're drugging them or they're in very vulnerable situations, and then they blackmail them, which often keeps victims with their predators for a lot longer. I think this is such an incredible message that he's going to stay behind bars. And I think you're going to see a lot more victims coming out and a lot more people that have already also witnessed these crimes coming forward.
Candace?
Listen, what the judge did really coincided overall with Damian Williams' strategy, and that is to keep Sean Combs behind bars so that other people could come forward. You do feel safer when someone is behind bars. The whole idea of him tampering with witnesses, that was one of the main things that the judge said was a part of her issue, that he had done this before and that he might even do it again. Yes, his house is for sale and his plane is for sale. He made efforts on paper to do this. But what he also did, and this is where the arson came in, is he has tampered with witnesses as he has in the past. There was Kid Cudi. He was the one who was talked about in the Cassie indictment. And it was alleged that he was trying to help Cassie, and he said, I will, blow up his car. And in fact, that did happen. That's where the arson comes in if you connect the dots of these two indictments. And by this decision of him being behind bars, this opens the doors, swings them open for people to come forward and speak their piece and be protected, and even make a deal if they happen to be a part of this conspiracy. The RICO Act is really important here because the RICO Act, even though the Adult Survivors Act has closed its door, that's how Cassie and a couple of other people got in before that deadline. The RICO Act allows you to go back further than just the 4 years that are on record by law that you can go back. If you can go back even further and connect the dots of crimes that have taken place for a continuous criminal process, then you can go back before those 4 years. So that's also something that Damian Williams has on his side, so that when people come forward, what they say and what they did can be a part of this case because of the RICO statute.
Aisha, last question for you. Obviously, federal trials are different from state trials. Any sense, and for the purpose of the audience, how long it'll be before this actually goes to trial? 6 months, 9 months, a year? I mean, these things fluctuate depending upon the case.
I think it's going to be much longer than that. That's my opinion, because I think that, number one, we're not dealing with a statute of limitations. I don't know that Mr. Combs is in any rush, right, to have this case prosecuted. There will be, he will have speedy trial rights, and so that has to be taken into consideration. But I would suspect that this may not even go to trial. This may end up in some type of plea, because I think the evidence as it comes in is going to be completely overwhelming. The other thing is, one of the things that the prosecutor said was, come quickly. If you have something to say, tell me now. And I think part of that is that he feels like he has a really strong case. But what he's telling folks out there is that I know more than the one person that I put in this indictment was involved in this conspiracy. I've got video, I've got other digital evidence. And if you know that you're a part of that, come forward now to see if I can help you out. Because if you wait and you make me work for it, then it's going to be a lot harder for me to want to cut you a deal or to deal with you at all. So I think it may take some time, because I think there's just going to be so many people who are going to be implicated in this conspiracy. In this indictment, they're claiming an enterprise that's made up of not only his businesses and him, meaning Mr. Combs, but other people who he employed and people who he's associated with. And some of those people who he's associated with, we know. They are also very powerful people. So I think that this is going to take some time. I think we're all just going to have to be somewhat patient. And I'm sure that Mr. Combs is going to have to just get comfortable in whatever cell he is in right now, because it's going to be some time before this case, I think, goes to trial, if it actually ends up in a trial.
All right. I want to thank all of you for joining us and offering your perspective. Thank you so very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Folks, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished?
There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion?
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Farquhar, executive producer, Proud Family. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, want to bring in my panel right now. Have them talk about this here. Of course, Randy Bryant, DEI disruptor out of Washington, D.C., Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA. Glad to have both of you here. Do we still have Joe with us?
Yep, still here.
All right, cool. All right, we got 3 of them. So, Mustafa, Randy, we'd love to get their thoughts on this. I mean, this is, look, this is a major story. The fact of the matter is, I had someone text me and they said, hey, hope black-owned media doesn't go overboard on this, but the reality is this here. Sean P. Diddy Combs is a significant influencer in the culture. When you look at music, when you look at fashion, when you look at spirits, alcohol, you name it, movies. So there's no doubt is going to be massive coverage of this indictment and of him being arrested and staying in jail.
You're right. I know my group texts haven't stopped today. I have constant dings all day today because this is a big story. Everyone I know is talking about it and is interested in it. Someone said today, I don't feel sorry for him. And I said, I'm sad about the loss of the dream of who we thought he was, because he was my generation. And late in the 90s, we were dancing to his music that uplifted us. And it's always nice to think of, this Black man who created an empire. So while I don't feel sorry for him, I do mourn the loss of what we thought was an icon, the idea of who he was. And so this is a major story and it deserves coverage. And we aren't just talking about a Black man, and I know people are sensitive to the way that Black men are oftentimes gone after and broken down. But this is also about Black women and women, period, who were just horribly treated. I think there is enough, we've seen the videos at this point. There's enough evidence. We know that the feds don't get involved unless there is an abundance already of evidence that they have. And so this is something that we must talk about.
On that particular point there, Mustafa, Randy makes an excellent point, and that is you can look at this from the perspective of downfall of a prominent Black man. I remember when there was a lot of that when it came to Bill Cosby, when it came to R. Kelly, but what was often left out were the Black women and other women who were being impacted by the alleged acts. And so, this is going to be constant conversation. I mean, look, you've got streamers, you've got others now talking about seeing Diddy with other male entertainers and other women and abusive acts. There was a lawsuit filed by one of the singers in one of his groups who alleged that Diddy punched out Cassie at a table, and Usher and Neo and others were sitting there and nobody said a word. And so this is going to bring in a lot of other prominent people who have been in and around Sean Combs over the years.
There's so much to unpack because it is about us making sure that when we see these types of injustices happening, then somebody has to speak out. And I understand the power dynamics that play out and how folks sometimes can be afraid. They might lose their career or they might lose their life or a number of other dynamics. But this is also an opportunity for us to put a spotlight on the fact that we've got over 250,000 folks who are dealing with sex trafficking in our country and about 27, 28 million across the planet. So this is a major, situation that we have to find ways of rectifying. And because the spotlight will be put on Puffy's case, it's an opportunity to educate, to help people to understand exactly how dire this situation is, how large it is. It is also be a spotlight on the music industry because we act like this is, a case that is out there by itself. But for those folks who have either been in the industry or been around the industry, we know these types of things often play out. And when you deal with an industry that made, the music industry, I think made $28 billion last year, and hip hop, made its sets of billions last year, then there's a lot of power that's there. There's a lot of people who want to protect each other because they want to make sure those dollars keep flowing. But it comes down to our humanity. Are we going to protect our most vulnerable people who often get themselves, they're either tricked into these situations or sometimes it is just wanting to be around these individuals who have power and privilege. So we got to make some decisions about if we're actually going to lean in. Are we going to have an honest, an honest look at this and at ourselves and the industry and figure out what we need to do better? Here's the last thing, Roland. The bodyguards, Gene Deal and others, had been sharing for quite a while now some of these different types of things that were going on, and people would say, well, they're hating, they're not telling the truth. Now, of course, it's still alleged charge until somebody is, convicted. but there is a mounting set of evidence from lots of folks, not only in this moment, but over the last few years. People have been telling of these different types of stories of how people, were getting hurt. So we'll see how this all plays out. And it's also the same thing with this Epstein trial. So I hope that we have the same level of clarity and transparency that we've been asking for also on the Epstein side, where we have a long list of people, and a lot of that information hasn't continued to be able to move forward. So I'm one who believes in parity and equity. So I hope as much attention that goes on to Puffy's case, that they continue to place that same amount on some of these other high-level cases that are out there that are also dealing with sex trafficking and human trafficking.
Joe, I think what also is going to happen is, I'm telling you right now, people need to brace themselves. They are going to get a peek into a side of entertainment that they heard about, but it's going to be real. It's going to be extremely graphic. And we've seen these other stories before. Again, I mentioned R. Kelly. I mentioned Bill Cosby. I mentioned Harvey Weinstein. And there are a lot of people, I guarantee you, there are a lot of people in entertainment who are shaking in their boots tonight because they're wondering, am I on any of those tapes? Was I at any of those parties? What did I engage in? And these all are potential witnesses. These are potential suspects. And so I wouldn't be shocked. There was a lot of lawring up happening as we speak.
Oh, no doubt about it. Folks are having conversations right now about, hey, here's what I remember. Here's what I don't. Do we get in contact with them? Is it much ado about nothing? Do we not know? And, what's the timing? What's the manner and the timing of getting in contact with the authorities? Because this is a situation where you want to call them before they call you. And if they can, get one high-profile guy, they can certainly get two or three and play you against each other. And so it is going to be interesting because we're going to get a window into some of the things that you've only heard about, that you weren't so sure actually happened, that you didn't want to believe happened. Here's another thing that's interesting about P. Diddy. If you go back to the East Coast, West Coast thing or whatever else, most people had it fixed where Suge Knight was the bad guy, right? Suge Knight was a bad guy, much more physically imposing, all of these other things. And Puff is the one to kind of say things in the right, way at the front. You wanted to believe that P. Diddy was the, quote, reasonable one, right? Like he didn't have all of this stuff going on like Suge Knight did. Suge Knight was the one that beat up on people and that threatened people's lives and didn't let people leave their label, and his label and all of those things. And so as it turns out, he's doing a lot of the same stuff, but he had folks around him to kind of, keep him in a certain place. But that has been burst now. And I think, among other things, even though he's rich and powerful, I think from a standpoint of what he's producing and what he's doing now, he's expendable. And again, the Cassie thing was an opening of the floodgates because none of that other stuff really got traction the way that this did. But a whole lot of folks are trying to see. It's almost like jumping rope. When the people would do the rope and you're trying to figure out when to jump in. Should I call the police now? Should I call the prosecutor now? Or should I wait till I hear from them? Are they paying attention to me? Are they focusing on me? There's a whole lot of people second guessing themselves and saying, why in the Sam heck did I go to any parties with this man? This is absolutely crazy.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. When we come back, we're going to talk about the campaign. We're going to talk about what's going on. A lot to discuss. Today's National Voter Registration Day. Black Lives Matter is going to be spending $15 million in battleground states. We're going to talk to Cliff Albright, co-founders of Black Voters Matter, Vice President Kamala Harris in Philadelphia, sitting down with 3 members of the National Association of Black Journalists, taking their questions. Also, we're going to talk about Ken Paxton in Texas getting smacked down for trying to intimidate voters there. Microsoft says that Russia is throwing everything to attack the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz campaign. And how dumb are right-wingers? They have this weird-ass and fast fascination with Vice President Kamala Harris changing her accent. They literally are complaining about what she had to say when talking about the Divine Nine and HBCUs. at the CBCF on Saturday. Yeah, we're going to show you. Folks, don't forget to support the work that we do. Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. Again, you can, if you can't give that, you can give less. We appreciate that. Appreciate every dollar given. If you can give more, that's appreciative as well. There are multiple ways you can support our show. Send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. I told you Cash App has for some reason changed their policy. It's pretty stupid. They're limiting daily transactions. And so you can support us with $RM Unfiltered, $Uncle Roro Martin, $BLK Start Network. Those are three ways you can support us via Cash App. And so we appreciate any and everything that you give to us. We'll be right back.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished?
There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion?
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
There's nothing worse than hateful, shameful, pathetic Republicans. And one of the most hateful, shameful, and pathetic Republicans in America is Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. This man, who should be in prison, has been targeting Latino voters and black voters in Texas, going after Democratic counties because they have the audacity to send out voter registration forms. Well, a Texas judge has thrown out Ken Paxton's plan to stop Bexar County, San Antonio, stop their voter registration plan. State District Judge Antonia Ortega denied Paxton's request for a temporary injunction to stop a Bexar County-funded program to print and mail out voter registration forms through a third-party firm. Ortega found Paxton's case moot after learning from the Bexar County District Attorney's Office that the forms were mailed last week. On September 3rd, county commissioners approved a $392,700 contract agreement with Civic Government Solutions to print and mail 210,000 voter registration forms to potential voters who have moved within the county or recently moved to the county. Paxton said the county lacked the statutory authority to mail out the forms and argued that they could be used by ineligible voters. This right here, Joe, is the kind of crap that we see from Republicans over and over and over again. Today is National Voter Registration Day. And the Republican Party, and I keep trying to explain to people, what they desperately want for fewer people to vote. They are on record as saying if more people vote, they lose. So they will use attorney generals, they will use DAs to target people. We discussed yesterday a sheriff in Ohio who made a remark, write down the addresses of people with signs of Kamala Harris in their yards. These people are thugs, and they do not want Americans to really vote.
Yeah, and it's good that they got the decision that they did in this particular case. Fortunately, this judge saw it the way that it needed to be seen. But the Ken Paxtons of the world are really exerting some major pressure to try to send a message that people that try to get other people to be able to vote do so at their peril. And so, therefore, they go out of their way to set up roadblocks. And, they take an example, make someone an example, and hopefully have that be a message to everyone else that's looking through the window. So they got the right decision this time, but it's a serious problem when you are not in the battle place of ideas anymore. You're not in the marketplace of ideas anymore. You don't want to compete that way. So you just want to keep people from voting. You want to keep dividing and conquering, even though you're continuously outnumbered. So it's not a battle of ideas anymore. It's about just keeping people scared and hesitant and reticent to vote. This is a victory in this larger war that continues. They're going to do everything that they can. Texas is looking at the clock. Texas is already majority minority, and it's only a matter of time before Texas goes blue. It absolutely has to happen. They're holding on a little bit longer, trying to divide Hispanic Latino population from the black population, trying to divide black men from maybe other folks, through Trump and those types of things. But their time is coming. And so they're fighting as hard as they can, but at least we got a victory in this particular battle in this larger war, which continues, particularly with the election on the horizon.
Folks, right now, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is actually in Asheville, North Carolina. Control room, let me know, do we have that rally ready? I want to go live to Walz right now. All right, guys, you actually, so pull it up, folks, get that ready. Go ahead with your comment, Mustafa, on what Republicans are doing.
Yeah, I mean, Joe hit it. You know, folks they're scared. They're running scared because they don't have policies that resonate with the vast majority of folks, whether in Texas or across the country. They know that the only way that they can even compete is to, you know, try and rig the system. If we didn't know any better, if we took a step back, we would think that we're watching, you know, a developing country that is trying to figure out how to get democracy in place, and then you have the dynamics of different people playing nefarious games. But it's right here in good old America, in Texas, where everything is bigger, and I guess the Republican Party there feels that if they can, you know, continue to load up a various set of voter suppression activities, then maybe they can continue to survive, as Joe sort of shared. So this is not a new playbook. We know what's going on in Texas. We know what's going on in Florida and a number of other locations.
Let's go live to Asheville, North Carolina. Governor Tim Walz.
See them. They're there. But she turned around and looked at me and she said, Tim, we work just as hard for the people and their families on this side of the street as we do on this side of the street. And that's what all of us believe. Because that's who America is. And I saw it this summer. I had the privilege of a lifetime to be in France on the 80th commemoration of the D-Day landing. And I was riding on a bus with several of our Medal of Honor awardees who had earned the Medal of Honor for bravery. And we were going down these dusty little trails to get to the beaches of Normandy, and the houses were decorated with little French flags, with little British flags, with little Canadian flags, with little American flags. To the cemeteries where the sons and daughters of the free nations of the And while our young warriors died on that foreign beach, they died for the common humanity, the common decency, the common human rights that we all aspire to. Donald Trump, when Vladimir Putin invades a democratic country, he says, I don't care, do whatever the hell you want. Donald Trump tells Putin that. So when you hear Vice President Harris say, our allies are terrified of him coming back into power again. But the good news is, that's not going to happen. So we are not going back. I said, I love all the things. My wife talks about turning a page. She's an English teacher and all of that. I just like this one. This damn TV show of his has been on too long. Let's just cancel it in November. Let's just cancel it. But here's what we get with Kamala Harris. And here's what we get with all of you out here. And people like Stephen and others who are inspired. We've got a new generation of American leadership that's inspiring the rest of the world. So you saw it. Kamala Harris can take care of herself. Our job is to do the blocking and tackling and cover her back. That's what our job is. So this is where I never get too far from being Coach Walz on these things. This is where I'm going to be. Think about it. If everybody here tonight gets just one more person to do a phone bank or a door knock, just one, talk to somebody, one more conversation, have that conversation. I'm trying with all of my relatives, I'm trying with everybody else to make the case that we're in this together. We can chart a new way forward. Hell, I get it. You're out here, you're standing in the rain, you're giving your money, you're knocking on doors, you're doing all that. But my God, what a privilege to fight for the democracy. What a privilege. "49 days to go. We're finally going to have early voting starting here in North Carolina on the 17th. And we get the opportunity to make a difference, not just for 4 years, but for 40 years. Not just here, but across the world. That's what we get to do. So we're in the fight, all gas, no brakes, sleep when you're dead, And as the next president of the United States says, when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Thank you.
Folks, you see, again, a lot of attention being paid to North Carolina by the Harris-Walz campaign. Just last week, Vice President Kamala Harris, she was in Greensboro, she was in Charlotte. You see there in Asheville, say they're doing all they can to again flip that state. Last time Democrats won North Carolina was 2008, and then Senator Barack Obama won with 14,100 votes in North Carolina. President Joe Biden lost North Carolina by 2.5 points in 2020. And you've got a crazy MAGA Republican running, Mark Robinson, African-American, strict anti-abortionist, running against Josh Stein. Stein is leading him by something like by 10 to 14 points. And so the Harris-Walz campaign really think they could pick up North Carolina. And that's why you see them spending so much time in the Tar Heel state. Randy, I want to get your thoughts on. We were talking about Ken Paxton and again what he's trying to do, and how Republicans all across the country are using every tactic they can to keep people from voting, removing folks from the voting rolls. They are making it harder for folks to cast ballots as opposed to making it easier.
I thought it was a great foil when we were talking about Paxton, and then we cut just to this rally, and you hear the conversation about if you're a supporter of democracy, what a privilege it is to support and fight for democracy. In a democratic society, you want as many people to be involved in the process. You want to include everyone. It is inclusive. And so we have to look at how the Republicans are doing everything in their power, as they always do, to ensure that only certain people in this country have a vote. I am so sick of them recruiting some of our people within our own community saying for us not to vote. I said, when do you ever hear any community being told, you know what, you should not even vote, sit it out? And we believe it and think it's a good thing, that we should pay attention to that. We need to pay attention to the fact that they are rallying for us not to participate in a system that we have every right to do. And the Republicans know that if we vote, if we participate, we win. If we fight, we win. And so that's what they're doing. They are essentially cheating, which is what people who know that they would lose if the fight were fair do. They're doing everything in their power to make voting as complicated and as difficult as they possibly can. So they're trying to get rid of early voting, mail-in ballots, making it as arduous of a process as possible when people do go vote, cutting hours of time that people can vote, so people who work jobs that aren't 9 to 5 can't vote. This is what they're doing. And if I were anybody out there that's listening, there's no way in hell I would allow anyone to take my right to tell me that I cannot participate in a process. I'm a DEI person, I'm the DEI disruptor, and almost every statement that is made these days is anti-DEI. They're saying they don't want diversity, they don't want anybody included, and they don't want to make it where everyone has equal access to participate in a democratic society. And that's wrong.
Not only are we talking about Republicans who are trying to make it harder, you really do have some just dumbasses in the United States Congress. And one of them is Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. First of all, this fake-ass country corn boy, whatever accent, is fake. That's how he didn't always talk this way. But if y'all want to see some shameful behavior, watch what happened today in Congress when he was questioning a Muslim woman. If you want to see a level of hatred, just watch this idiot, Senator John Kennedy.
And according to your website, you're also, I'm going to quote here, a longtime Democratic Party activist who served as a member of the 2016 Democratic National Convention's Platform Standing Committee, close quote. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You support Hamas, do you not?
Senator, oddly enough, I'm going to say thank you for that question because it demonstrates the purpose of our hearing today in a very effective way.
Let's start first with a yes or no.
Hamas is a foreign terrorist organization that I do not support, but you asking the executive director of the Arab American Institute that question very much puts the focus on the issue of hate in our country.
Well, I got your answer, and I appreciate it. What is the, you support Hezbollah too, don't you?
Again, I find this line of questioning extraordinarily disappointing,
Is that a
Senator.
no?
That you have Arab American constituents that you represent in your great state.
Yes, ma'am, I understand that, but my time's limited, and I apologize, but is that a yes or a no?
A yes or no question to do I support Hezbollah? The answer is I don't support violence, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, or any other entity that invokes it.
You can't
so
bring
no,
yourself
sir.
to say no, can you?
No, I can say no. I can say yes.
But
what
you
I can say is
you just
your
can't
line
make
of
yourself do
questioning.
it. Do you
Senator,
support or oppose Iran and their hatred of Jews?
Again, I'm going to emphasize Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, none of them is going to, this discussion.
You can't bring yourself to say no, can
Sir,
you?
I don't support.
It's real simple.
Excuse me, I'm going to, if I may, as a Muslim woman, sir, I'm going to tell you I do not support Iran. But what I will tell you is that this conversation.
I'm running out of time. I'm sorry. You called our decision to cut funding. You called our decision to cut fund. Well, first, what's the United Nations Relief and Works Agency?
It's UNRWA, which is the institution that exists to provide services and aid to the nearly 6 million Palestinian refugees.
And you called our decision to cut funding for them, quote, an incredible moral failure, close quote.
That is absolutely correct. But again, I would suggest that conversation is about foreign policy.
We did that because 9 UNRWA staff members were fired for actually helping Hamas on October 7th. Isn't that the case?
I don't believe that that's correct in terms of...
Let me ask you one more time. You support Hamas, don't you? You support UNRWA and Hamas, don't you?
Sir, please. I think it's exceptionally disappointing that you're looking at an Arab American witness before you and saying you support Hamas.
You know what's disappointing to me?
I do not support Hamas.
Bring yourself
I do not support Hamas.
You don't support UNRWA. You don't support Hamas. You don't.
I was very clear in my support for UNRWA.
Hezbollah, and you don't support Iran. You should hide your head in a bag.
That is a perfect example of how shameless Republicans are. And see, I think some people in these panels are too deferential and respectful to members of Congress. That's an example where if I'm that woman, I would say, Senator Kennedy, you can go to hell. And I would have stood up and walked my ass right out of that hearing. And I would have said, y'all let me know when you decide to have a sense of decency return back to this room. And I would have walked the hell out. That man sat there, don't you support Hamas? Don't you support Hezbollah? Oh, you can't say no? We know those games. I would not have dignified his questions. That's when you say you are a pathetic, gross human being. And the chair could have sat there and gavelled, where can allow personal attacks on members of the Senate. And I would say that right there is an asshole. I just think sometimes, Mustafa, you got to call that thing a thing and not sit there and reason with a hateful bigot like Senator John Kennedy.
I mean, you hit it on the head. I mean, he is hateful. He's a bigot. Those questions were racist. You know, I've sat in those chairs before, so I understand the games that get played on Capitol Hill. But this also places a spotlight, once again, that this is a leader in the Republican Party. And if this is the best that you have, is this the best sets of information that you can try to extract from a witness instead of getting serious? You're a very unserious person. You are not truly trying to figure out how to move forward in a positive direction, how to make sure the country's better. I know Miss Berry. She is an excellent individual. She's an excellent leader. She is somebody who cares about this country, but she also understands the dynamics that are playing out across our planet and wants to make sure that wherever there is injustice, that it is being addressed. You know, they want to demonize us. They try and demonize us based on race. They try and demonize us based on religion. Without understanding that they continue to create larger and larger fissures inside of our country, but that's their goal. It is to be chaotic. It is to be chaotic if it is in a Senate committee or a conference or a hearing. They're not serious people about trying to find ways to either better our country or better this planet, and we have to utilize the power of our vote. I never tell anybody to vote who to vote for. Everybody knows that who's watched this show. But I do say vote for somebody who cares about our communities. Vote for somebody who's actually serious about a better future. Vote for somebody who actually cares about the dynamics that are playing out across our planet, because everything is interconnected. So when we allow individuals like the senator to do those types of things, there are ripple effects. And we have to decide if we want to have positive things that are going out, or we're going to continue to allow these types of individuals to embrace negativity and darkness and put that into the veins of America.
I just think again. Listen, Joe, this is my posture in the meeting. I'll be in the chair, and I'll be like, "Go to hell, go to hell again," and then here, you can still go to hell. I just think sometimes you got to go there with racists like Senator John Kennedy.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with that. At the same time, you know, there are people out here, I would like to think, that are still to be convinced. And when you come in at the high level of class that this particular person did, you know, you could convince some people that are out there that could see. You know, it's kind of like fighting fire with fire, right? When Martin and John Lewis and everyone else did what they did in terms of the civil rights movement, they did not fight back physically. They fought back other ways. They choked economically because they knew that there was an audience that was watching. Maybe people that didn't want to sit next to them on the bus, but people that wouldn't put dogs on other people and put water hoses on them, high power hoses in order to prove their point. And so there is that. And then she also could do the middle ground. The middle ground could be saying, "Sir, those are racist statements," not calling you a racist, but those are racist statements. I have my own thoughts. I don't know you, but those are racist statements. This is why they're wrong. Despite that, I'm still answering the question. And here's what I'm saying. You could educate that listener and that looker, that person that's looking through the window all at the same time. But the good news is that Mr. Kennedy, who's not quite up to his namesake, the best part of the Kennedy name in any way, is helping us to get rid of the notion and the myth of white supremacy once and for all.
I hear Joe Randy, but I just think sometimes you just got to go ahead and go there. I just think you got, because I just think sometimes, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and say this here. One of my favorite all-time quotes, and all y'all people who keep telling me, Roland, stop cussing. I'm about to cuss right now, so I'm just going to let y'all go know in advance So y'all can go ahead, turn TV down, turn it down. It was at 2000. It was at one of them Tavis Smiley State of Black America things. It was at USC. And I remember my man Charles Ogletree and Nikki Giovanni was on the stage. And he asked Nikki Giovanni, why does she like Tupac so much? And she said, I like Tupac because somebody got to call a motherfucker a motherfucker. That is one of my all-time favorite quotes ever. And that's what Senator John Kennedy needed right there in that hearing. But go ahead with your thoughts.
I believe I believe in that too much, okay? I like Joe's approach, and that's what I was thinking. I believe that we need to start calling people racist. I think she should have said, your accusations are racist. Just because, don't make these assumptions about me. I think she should have used the words. This country has convinced us that we're wrong when we call racism out. And I believe we...
Hold on, you said she should have used the words. Which words she should have used? Should she have used the Nikki Giovanni words, or she should have used the Della Reese words from Harlem Nights? Kiss my entire... No, she should have used Della Reese. Oh no, she should have used Della Reese from Harlem Nights. Kiss my entire ass. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
She wouldn't have educated people that way. And I believe that...
Yes, she would have. Yes, she would have.
I don't think so. I think racist and motherfucker are synonyms, to be honest with you. I think most of us hear it that way, and she should have called him on what he is and how he was acting. I think that would have shut him up. And I would have said, do you want me to answer the question, or do you want to give a speech and just accuse me? Let me know, because I can just not waste, you wasting my time up here. But of course, that's...
Y'all trying to be too nice. Y'all trying to be too nice. So I just think sometimes you got to go there. I just think for some people, the man said, do you support Hamas, Hezbollah? And kept accusing her because she's a Muslim. Nah, man, he deserved to be cussed out every which way. And sometimes you got to cuss folks out. Sometimes you can't be nice, you can't be cordial, you can't be the one to turn the other cheek. Sometimes you just got to cuss their ass out and then let them deal with it.
You know, tomorrow on Fox News, they would have shown the clip over and over again, not of him acting a fool.
I don't give a damn, but we know that whole damn net. Guess what? And guess what? All them racists watching Fox News would have seen me cussing his punk ass out.
Well, we know, Roland. We know, because you have. And we're proud that you do.
You damn right. You damn right. Sometimes they asses need to get cussed out. All right, let me go to a break. Come back. We're going to talk to my man Cliff Albright, Black Voters Matter, about what they're doing. Also, I got to deal with these old dumbass conservatives who are, oh my God, Kamala Harris she's using another accent. I don't think these white people actually know any black people. Well, outside of Candace Owens, Tim Scott, and Byron Donalds. I don't know if they know any real black people. You watch it, Roland Martin Unfiltered, on the Black Star Network. Well, I think some folks need to be told, kiss my entire ass. Back in a moment.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished? There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? There has to be some form of punishment. For the woman? Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show. And you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
You know, I guess this is the they can all go to hell part of the show. Go ahead and pull up the panelists for me. Put us in the 4 box. This really, I think this probably is the they all can go to hell part of the show. So on Saturday night, Vice President Kamala Harris, President Joe Biden, they addressed the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, AOC, to the Phoenix Awards. So Vice President, she's a little under the weather. You can tell, you can hear it, you know, in her nose. She spoke about 8-9 minutes. But all these ignorant-ass white conservatives acted a fool again because of what they call her changing accent. Listen to this.
Hello to all my divine 9 brothers and sisters. And my sorors. And to all my HBCU brothers and sisters. But let me just talk for a moment about Joe Biden. It has been the honor.
Come on back. All right, sus. Okay, I need y'all to re-rack that. I need y'all to actually play it from the beginning, because you missed the context, what happened there. Okay, do y'all have it? No. Go pull it up. I need y'all to go pull it up. Play the beginning. So what happened? I was there. So let me know when y'all have it. So what happened was, she came out and the AKAs lost their mind. Ski wind left and right, all across the room. All right. So she didn't want to just show some love to the AKAs. She then did the Divine Nine. And all the different Divine Nine members did they thing. The Deltas, oop, and the Alphas do the 06 and Omegas. They were chirping, barking. And the Kappas, I don't know what they were doing, whispering. I don't know what the hell they do. I don't know what the Owls and Sigmas do. So that's what happened. So let me know when y'all have it, okay? So it was a funny moment because she was trying to be inclusive and was really laughing at what the AKs did. So it's the full content. Go ahead, please.
CBC. Can we please give it up for our President Joe Biden? Oh, it's good to be back. Please have a seat, everyone. Please have a seat. I have to say, it is so good to be back. And let me just say about Joe Biden, hello to all my Divine Nine brothers and sisters, and my sorors, and to all my HBCU brothers and sisters. But let me just talk for a moment about Joe Biden. It has been the honor of my lifetime to serve as his vice president, and I'll tell you, I have.
All right, so all these silly ass white conservatives talking about how she's changing accent. They did the same thing when she was talking to the UAW workers in Michigan, and these really are some stupid people, Mustafa. They clearly don't know black people. They don't even remotely understand black people. The fact of the matter is, depending upon what we're talking about, how we're talking, it might be a different tone that we use. It's what black people do. We don't talk the same in every single instance in terms of how we talk. They were mad at her because she wasn't fully enunciating and pronouncing words. I'm like, literally, these are about some of the dumbest ass people I have ever seen in my life.
It'd be really nice if they stayed out of black folks' business. Let black folks deal with black folks' business. You know what's interesting?
And there you go.
Yeah, and I don't think they understand family either, because when you with family, you change lots of things, the way you talk and where your mannerisms is, and how comfortable you are in that situation. And I think they're mad because she finds family in lots of places, whether it's with union workers or if it's in an HBCU or a number of different places that she goes, people gravitate to her because she brings forward hope. She brings forward a connection. And I think that they're jealous because they currently have a set of candidates that don't have that ability to connect with folks, to be able to meet folks where they are. So, to make sure that your vernacular is not excluding, but including people. They really should just stay out of our business because they've never done anything to help our communities, but yet they want to continue to critique our communities and the leaders in our communities. So we can handle our own business. Why don't y'all take instead of trying to get rid of Black history classes and books that have information in it and videos, maybe y'all need to sit down, take some time, and actually learn more about our culture and how we flow.
See, I think right there, Randy Mustafa said it best. White conservatives, stay out black folks' business.
hard. Just completely stay out of it. There was a study that came out years ago that said the average white person, only 1 out of 4 white people have a black friend. 1 out of 4. So I don't know why in the heck they think that they can really have some commentary on our culture. And what they need to get is that we're intelligent folks. We do switch it up, and we switched it up. And, we code switch for survival part of our lives because they are always trying to make us fit into how they think we should act. There's was a line in The Color Purple that said, some folks don't like to see black people too proud or too free, is essentially what it said. And I think that that's what they can't stand, is that Kamala Harris feels comfortable enough to be freely who she is, authentically who she is, which you cannot pigeonhole. She feels comfortable just being with her sorors and shouting out her HBCU folks and just being black and talking the way we do, as Mustafa said, when we're with family. And they can't stand it because they have, for years, for decades, for centuries, made us feel as if when we went out in places and we were around them, we had to act like them, talk like them, to be seen and respected. But now Kamala's saying, listen, I can be my full Howard University graduate self, my full AKA self, my full HBCU self, my full Indian self and black self, and that is who I am. And that is what we do when we're with our people. So yeah, they definitely 100% need to get out of our business because they don't understand it.
And the thing is, I mean, the reality, first of all, Joe, I keep seeing a lot of people talk about she code switched. No, she didn't. She didn't code switch. It wasn't like, well, I'm going to talk this way in front of them. No, she was responding. It was humorous. And so I just think that part of this thing is, do you. That was a brother, Joe's name, Tom Wilkins. Tom died last year. And I love Tom because Tom was about 6'5". Tom was dark skinned. Tom was always ashy. Like Tom was forever ashy. I just always think, damn, Tom, you gotta just keep a supply of lotion. So Tom didn't get, first of all, Tom's favorite fur was motherfucker. Him and his wife owned a computer company. He used to always wear his baseball cap, like sit on top of his head, like pointed up. And Tom didn't care. Okay? Tom would go to meetings, and Tom would be with white folk. He'd be with black folk, and Tom was the same. Tom might drop an MF. Tom didn't give a damn. In fact, Tom died. They buried him wearing his cap. Tom did not care. His whole deal was, I'ma do me. And then Michael Williams, good friend of Tom's, mine as well. And he would tell Tom, you gonna wear that hat? Tom was like, I don't give a damn what these white folks think. Tom was a millionaire, didn't care, served his country in the military, and was like, they all can go to hell. But I always loved it because he was hilarious, because Tom didn't give a damn. And so the thing is, they have no clue about black people. They have no understanding about black people. And all they do is whine and complain. And for a lot of these white folks, conservatives and liberals, they gotta understand, we not always giving a damn what they think, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, when you're at home, you let your hair down, right? You do the things that you want to do. You're comfortable, you're at ease, you're relaxed. Most of the time, those of us that have to make it in these, majority boxes, we have to speak a different social language. And frankly, that's what makes us marketable. That's what makes us valuable. They'd be okay with me or Kamala Harris or whoever else making those connections when it's making them money, when it's when it's working to their advantage, which it is so often. They're okay with us code switching then. They're okay with us connecting with black folks the way you do. Like I'm reminded of the point in Do the Right Thing when what's his name's like, yeah, you can go talk some brother talk to him, They're okay when it makes money, when it puts money in their pocket, when it helps them build a bridge that they can't build themselves because it's a social language that they can't speak. But we have to be cross-trained. We got to know how to deal with all kinds of people. And that's the way it's been. And so how far we've come, and this is what they're mad at, Roland. This is how far we've come, that somebody on that stage can go there next to the president. Hey, thank you very much. Here I am running for president, and I'm shouting out my black sorority brothers and sisters, and I'm black too. They don't like that. That's what they don't like. They can make it like it's something else to the extent that they want to all day long, but at the end of the day, we're winning. And she reminds them of that. And so, yeah, do need to stay out of our business. We'll pick our own heroes. We'll talk to each other the way that we need to. We show up at work on time, work that benefits you too, by the way, so you don't have no complaints. We just gonna keep banging the way we do it. And if you don't like it, then maybe you can go elsewhere.
Hey, there you go. There you go. All right, hold tight 1 second. Going to a break. We come back. We're going to talk with my man Cliff Albright, Black Voters Matter, about their plans for these battleground states. I'm actually in Michigan, one of these battleground states. I'm here in Detroit. I'm got a panel tomorrow for the General Motors Media Summit, so look forward to that. So let's go to a break. We'll come back and talk to Cliff. Support the show that we do, folks. Your resources are vital. I'm telling y'all right now, listen, I'm here trying to get us some advertising money, and we put the work in, but it ain't easy. And so your contributions are hugely important for the work that we do. So, senior checking money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Guys, we got to get that graphic with the other cash apps. So please let me know we do that. There we go. Thank you very much. That's it. So we got 3. Why do we have 3? Because Cash App changed their damn rules, and now they limit how many transactions you can do per day, per week, per month. We don't even know how much it is. It's just dumb. And I wish they change it back. So these are the 3 Cash Apps you can give to support the Black Star Network. Of course, $RM Unfiltered, $ Uncle Roro Martin, $ Black Star Network, BOK Star Network. These are the 3 you can give to support us. Also, PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered, Venmos, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished? There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on Paxton. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? There has to be some form of punishment. For the woman? Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
This is Essence Atkins.
Mr. Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon.
It's me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you watch.
You're watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
All right, y'all, Black Lives Matter. They've been out in these streets all over the country, focusing on getting people out to vote. Their goal is to spend $15 million in battleground states. Joining us right now is Cliff Albright, co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Cliff, glad to have you here. Let's talk about this investment. It really, I was having a conversation today with someone, and we were talking about advertising versus spending on the ground. And what I said is, I'll be honest. I think part of the problem, and I've said this for years, that a lot of these campaigns, a lot of these PACs, a lot of these parties, they spend so much money on media. And we're in media, and I'm not saying media is not important. I said, but you sort of reach a point where you've oversaturated the market with television ads, radio ads, billboards. At the end of the day, though, you got to touch people. You got to actually be going precinct to precinct. You got to have a strong ground game. That's really the difference between winning and losing, not who runs the most ads on the air.
No, you're exactly right, Roland. We'll be doing a little bit of ads and in different forms, radio and billboard, not TV, right? Because that's too doggone expensive and doesn't have the impact that we need. Some social media videos. So we'll be doing some of that stuff. But the majority of our spend that we'll be doing in these battleground states, it's on the ground, right? It's going towards things like door knocks. It's going towards phone banks. It's going towards texting. It's going towards like special events, like our bus tours. Our bus has been rolling all over the country. Even just today, we were in Georgia at a couple of places, up in Philly at a couple of places. And that's not to mention our baby buses that we have rolling around. And creating excitement, right? At the end of the day, it's about the information, it's about knowing the laws and being able to get past the voter suppression, but it's also about creating some kind of excitement to make people want to participate. And not just to make people want to participate, but to make them want to go tell 5 people, tell 10 people. And so we're putting the vast majority of our spend on the grounds, in the streets, at these events, polling place parties, special concerts and tailgates to mobilize voters and all of that.
Yeah, I think about 2020, that election being in Georgia for the runoff, and I think about the concerts and the outdoor events. And bottom line is, you had to do it. It was like drive-in movie theaters because everybody were in their cars or sitting outside of their cars. But the bottom line is, you were touching people, you were reaching folks, and again, it's studying data. It's looking at precincts and looking at how many people in this precinct voted compared to the previous election, and therefore that gives you a roadmap of how you can actually touch folks and get them out to vote. And it's just old school politicking. On Sunday I dropped by the folks in Loudoun County. They asked me to go speak to a group that was canvassing the neighborhood before they went out, and that's exactly what they did. That's how people get over the hump. When you start looking at these elections and these polls and how close things are, it's by the margins. And guess what? 300, 400, 500, 1,000, that makes a huge difference in close elections.
And that's exactly right. And that's also the reason why you and I have talked about this before, why we don't just do what we do. And when I say we, I want to be clear, we work with a whole bunch of partners. We have over 600 partners across the 25 or so states where we do work, 12 of which are the focus of this spend that we are talking about, right now, this focused battleground spend. And so, but we got partners all over this country. And so when we do this work, when we do our bus stops, when we do door knocks, all of that is being done with these local groups. It's groups that you all know. It's your local neighborhood association. It's your church. Sometimes it's even an NAACP chapter or some other organization. But and sometimes it's national partners. Like we'll roll on a bus tour with some of our national partners. And so that's what I mean when I talk about what we do. And we do it in places, not just in urban areas, but also in the rural areas. Because to your point, being able to get an extra 500 votes here in this county, an extra 1,000 votes here in this county, even if we don't wind up winning that county, that collective impact of the urban areas, the rural areas, the mid-sized cities, that's how you change a state. That's how you create a Georgia. That's how we're going to flip North Carolina. That's how we're going to shock people in some of these states where, quite honestly, people are really underestimating.
And you said 12 states. Now, of course, at the presidential level, they're talking about 7. So what do you see as the battleground states?
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about the usual battlegrounds for the presidential that you hear about. Of course, you got Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin and Georgia and North Carolina. But you got some other states that are not only in play, or important because of a presidential contest, but as you know, we got these Senate races. And so we're also putting some of the spend in places like Maryland, right, where we know that we've got a chance to get a black woman senator in addition to Delaware. But Maryland is the one that we have included in this spend. Also, even Florida, like people are sleeping on Florida. There's an opportunity in Florida. And let's be clear, even some in the Haitian community in Florida that, traditionally aren't very active, because sometimes you have a feeling of, oh, these elections, that's not our thing. We're new immigrants, right? They're up in arms about this Springfield, Ohio stuff. So there's an opportunity to really engage people that haven't been engaged before. So, we're looking at Florida, we're looking at Texas even, right? Because at the end of the day, nobody likes Ted Cruz, and so anything's possible. And so, and then Ohio, of course, where Sherrod Brown is, because as you have often talked about, it does us little good if we get Kamala Harris in there, but we don't have control of the Senate. Right. And even with the filibuster, there's still, we can modify the filibuster, right? Maybe even get rid of the filibuster. There's things that can be done as long as we maintain a real 50 vote margin as opposed to this fake 50 vote that they've had in previous years, because you had 2 people in Manchin and Sinema that weren't really down with the crew. And so that's what we're looking at, not just the presidential battlegrounds, also the Senate battlegrounds, and a couple of important congressional battlegrounds. Because let's be clear, control of the House could come down to these 2 new seats in Alabama and Louisiana. So at the end of the day, those black districts or black opportunity districts, those are not safe districts. So if people are sleeping on those 2 states and those 2 districts, then that would be a mistake.
Indeed. Cliff Albright, Black Voters Matter, man. We appreciate it. We'll see you on the campaign trail with your one good foot.
That's all I need. All I need is one. I can get it done.
All right. I will appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, now.
Folks, today, Vice President Kamala Harris was in Philadelphia taking questions from 3 members of NABJ, asked her a series of questions dealing with reparations, dealing with the economy, dealing with a variety of issues. And here was one of the exchanges.
Joyful warrior has been used to describe your campaign.
You didn't see that just a minute ago, though. Okay, I'm back to my joyful part.
And your opponent and Republicans have at times weaponized you laughing in campaign ads, for example. Why is joy important to you to insert into this election? And what do you make of Republicans using that as a way to suggest that you're not a serious candidate?
Well, sometimes I think, and I'll say to whoever the young people are who are watching this, there are some times when your adversaries will try and turn your strength into a weakness. Don't you let them. Don't you let them. I find joy in the American people. I find joy and optimism in what I see to be our future and our ability to invest in it. I find joy in the ambition of the people. I find joy in the dreams of the people. I find joy in building community. I find joy in building coalitions. I find joy in believing that the true measure of the strength of a leader is not based on who you beat down, but who you lift up. And I think we should all find joy and have a sense of optimism about who we are as Americans and what we mean to each other and what we can do to lift each other up.
Folks, questions range from another different areas. She talked about Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, Haitian Americans, Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. It took place at the studios of WHYY there in Philadelphia. Go to my panel here. Randy, for the life of me, I don't know why NABJ had this at a damn radio station. This should have been on the HBCU campus. This should have been, to me, a much bigger deal. You had a studio audience there in the radio station, but do this on a college campus. Do this where you got people. Do this and where you have impact. You get much more broader people. And here's the whole deal. What it also does is it brings attention to that HBCU as opposed to this public radio station. So nearly hour-long conversation. And so that was just my biggest deal. I'm like, actually take it to a HBCU. And have a much larger, vibrant audience. Because remember, Donald Trump spoke at the convention there. More than 1,000 people were in the room when he acted a fool in Chicago. And so they could have easily gotten that type of a crowd as well in that kind of audience.
I agree with you. And, HBC students are so involved. I don't know if you've seen the videos going around with HBC students are watching. They had these watch parties when they just had the Democratic, maybe the debate. The one that went viral was the one with FAMU. And there was not a seat in the House because our youth are interested. Which is good to see. And so I believe that it would have been perfect to have that conversation at an HBCU because those students care and we care, and I'd like to hear from them as well.
There were questions dealing with Roe v. Wade, questions dealing with Israel and Gaza. But Mustafa, one of the things that jumped out, not a single question dealing with the fastest growing continent with the fastest growing economy, Africa. What's happening in those nations. We talk about Israel and Gaza and the human toll, also Ukraine, but not the Congo, not what's happening in South Sudan and other African nations. To me, that's a missed opportunity from those asking questions for NABJ.
Yeah, we got to be focused on the diaspora, without a doubt, whether, like you said, in Congo or the Sudan or in Kenya or a number of other locations that are currently dealing with both a set of trials and tribulations, but also huge amounts of opportunities on the natural resources that are there, and how do we make sure that those are protected so that our brothers and sisters there can utilize them in the form or fashion that they see best. But also, I appreciate that finally somebody also had raised a question around reparations, because we also got to have the questions asked about what's happening here at home on the domestic front, because there are brothers and sisters who are very who are very focused on being able to address that issue. So I would hope that those questions would also be asked the next time that the both of them come together, because then folks could see the difference in the two folks who are asking for your vote.
And Joe, questions are raised about Roe v. Wade. And here's my whole deal. Those questions get asked in every other interview. And so I'm sorry, if I'm in that position, I'm not asking the same stuff that other folks are always asking. And so I think, I thought they could have dealt deeper in terms of her agenda when it comes to black maternity health. I think that's a huge topic. It does not get talked about a lot, which is really important. Also, the reality of she mentioned this some, but really a more robust conversation about housing in this country as well. And so, to me, again, when you have an opportunity, don't ask the same stuff that white media is going to ask, because we hear that crap every single Sunday on Meet the Press, on ABC This Week, and Face the Nation. To me, this is where you have an opportunity to be a little bit different. And look, all the networks carried it. So that was also an opportunity to be able to introduce other topics that ordinarily would not get brought up.
Any negative trend disproportionately affects those who are already behind. And so they had a great opportunity to ask about some things that are of concern to the Black community. Women's reproductive health is a huge one, right? Other things, aspects of the economy, whether you're talking about housing, talking about jobs, talking about small businesses, go delve deeper into, what do you say to the notion that that some people want to say that you don't have $25,000 to give to small businesses. Address some of the things that are in contradiction or that are raised in opposition to the things that she's already proposed. That allows you to comb in, go in a little bit deeper, and then give the people that are listening to you something to say in their conversations. So it was absolutely an opportunity that I think was missed in some ways. It would be great to have been at an HBCU or in a situation that allows you to take advantage of the energy of the campaign. And so that's another thing that generates excitement, that gets people involved. Have your voter registration spots in the back. All those things. Do 3 or 4 things all at once. There's no reason that you couldn't do that. And so, it would be nice if they had done that, but hopefully they take similar opportunities, do some town hall style things where you're answering questions of young people who can be a suspecting or an audience that needs to have more information, that's a little bit skeptical, et cetera. Use the opportunity to really grow that base and to help them to help you as a candidate.
Gotta go to our last story here. And this here's an example why I love Black people. Frankie Beverly, of course, lead singer for Frankie Beverly and Maze, died last week at the age of 77. And man, the folks in New Orleans know how to send you away. Of course, New Orleans was where Frankie Beverly and Maze, their Live in New Orleans album, put them on the map to stardom. Sold more than 300,000 copies. That's what started it all. New Orleans, man, has always loved them. Guys, roll a video. A lot of video we've seen on social media of what happened in New Orleans. They had a second line. Y'all, they had a casket, didn't have a body, but they made a poster, a life-size poster of Frankie Beverly. Thousands of people attended this second line, playing music, chanting. Just roll the audio. Man, look, I tell you, black folk in New Orleans know how to throw a party. All across the city, they celebrated the life and legacy of Frankie Beverly with the second line. Man, Joe, Mustafa, Randy, ain't nothing like black people, and ain't nothing like black people in New Orleans.
Nothing.
That's right. You say it again. You say it twice. Real talk.
You know, when they say that we don't have culture, all you have to do is look at New Orleans. I lived there before. When someone is transitioning, you know the ancestors are smiling because they are surrounded by so much love and upliftment. So all you got to do is look at New Orleans, and you get the opportunity to see us at our best, to see our culture at its best, and to actually know what Black love actually feels like.
Yeah, this is what you call
indeed. Yep, absolutely. It makes it. And again, this Friday is called a Whiteout Day in honor of Frankie Beverly. I posted on my social media. They're encouraging everybody to wear white on Friday in appreciation of Frankie Beverly. This weekend, Jackson State, at their football game, man, again, y'all know how we do. When Before I Let Go, they played, which I've always said that Before I Let Go is the second national black anthem. Behind Lift Every Voice and Sing, that's the second national black anthem. And I keep telling everybody, folks keep talking about swag surf. I said, no, swag surf got to be around at least another 10 years. To see, if we still swag surfing in a decade, I'll let that become the third national black anthem, but it ain't there yet. Y'all got the Jackson State video ready? Yo, this is the crowd this weekend, 30,000 folk at the Jackson State football game. I'm just saying, and I am still disappointed with whoever was playing music at the White House Black Excellent Lunch on Friday. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. They were playing Beyonce and everybody else. You had 1,000 black people on the White House South Lawn, nearly everybody in white, and not one damn Maze song was played.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, somebody might have to get the BSU card back on that, man. That's not a good look like at all.
Well, Frankie Beverly.
It was a day after he had passed. Mustafa, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Frankie Beverly was a heartbeat of our culture. I mean, he cared and loved our people so deeply. And that's the reason why we continue and will always give that love back to him. And it helps America to understand we are the soul of America. Yes. So if you don't love and embrace us, then you are doing damage to yourself. So they should really remember the words of Frankie Beverly's songs because they were about truth, but they were also about the amazingness of love and of our culture. So he's going to be missed. But again, I know the ancestors are smiling and embracing and welcoming him home.
And Randy, I can tell you this right here. Is white folks who are trying to figure out, man, who the hell is Frankie Beverly? And that's a perfect example of when you don't know nothing about black people. And if you don't know, stay out of black folk business.
You got that right. I know people have been talking about how their white friends have asked them, our associates have asked them, who is Frankie Beverly? And I'm like, If you don't know who Frankie Beverly is, we can't even have a conversation. Like, let's just stop.
I'm trying to tell you, they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know. Frankie Beverly never crossed over. They didn't try to cross over. Frankie was like, hey, we gonna do our thing, and we don't care what y'all gotta say. And they were absolutely about blackness, black love, black appreciation. They wasn't changing their sound. They were blackity black, and that's what made black. I keep telling people, listen, the Commodores, the OJs, the Spinners, the Temptations, you could throw in Drew Hill, Jodeci, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. You can throw in Heat Wave. You could throw in Confunction. You could throw in Earth, Wind, and Fire. Any number of these groups, amazing groups, groups that have sold millions of albums, groups that have won all sort of awards. But there is no group that has the cult-like following of Frankie Beverly and Maze. And I keep telling everybody, white people got the Grateful Dead and Fish, P-H-I-S-H. We got Maze featuring Frankie Beverly.
That's right.
Just saying. All right, we got to go. Mustafa, Joe, Randy, I appreciate it. I'm going to give me something to eat downstairs, and I'm going to have my headphones on. I've been jamming Maze all day, and so that's how we do it. I was on a plane just sitting here just grooving. Hold up real quick. So let me ask y'all this here. Let's see if y'all really see it. So which album do y'all like best? Maze live in New Orleans, Maze live in L.A.? Mustafa, you first.
New Orleans.
Joe?
I'd have to say New Orleans, even though I'm from LA, because New Orleans is the one that kind of started the immortalization. So this is what it is.
Yeah.
Randy?
I'd have to agree.
Mine is LA. I think LA, I listen to both of them. LA is more up tempo. New Orleans is a little slower, although the look in your eye from New Orleans is fire. But yeah, I listen to Live in LA all the time. For me, Live in LA tops New Orleans. So that's just me.
Okay.
All right, y'all, we got to go. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, tomorrow I got to handle the General Motors Media Diversity Summit. Then I'm flying back to D.C., so I'll be back in studio hanging out with y'all tomorrow, so looking forward to it. Don't forget, support the work that we do. Join the Breeding Funk fan club. Please support us in every way possible. Folks, if you, again, we ask $50 each for everybody for the year. If you can give more, that's great. You can't give that, you give less. We appreciate those dollars as well. There are multiple ways to give. Cash App keeps tripping on these caps. So we got 3 Cash Apps, $RM Unfiltered. If that doesn't work, if you get rejected, use $Uncle Roro Martin or $BLK Star Network. Also, PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Also, download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV, and of course, be sure to get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version on Audible. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a great one. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?